Welcome to episode 3. I can barely believe it. Episode 3 of the Amazon Connect podcast with Mark Rudkowski, my very favorite person in the universe, and me, Douglas Park. We hope, well, I speak on behalf of Mark here, we hope you've enjoyed the first two, which I think had some great content and some really interesting information about Amazon Connect. And as always, we're keen to bring you the latest, what's happening with Amazon Connect. But today, I think this episode's going to be a bit more of a deep dive. So we're going to talk about, I want to talk about one feature up front, and then we're going to go deep on QinConnect, which is a very, very important part of Amazon Connect and also the future of contact centers. So, Mark, how you been doing? Over to you.
I've been doing all right, Doug. Bright and early here. It's Ghost. I think we talked about in the last podcast, right? We were kind of opposite sides. Now it's my turn to get up super early.
Well, for those who are watching on YouTube, they will see a pleasing light on one side of your face.
That's right.
Which is
I
think the sun streaming.
It's coming in. Yes, I gotta work on the studio lighting here. Then we'll get that into a better.
We need our influencer rings.
That's right. That's right.
Like that we're not pros yet.
I'm sure Amazon has a few of those.
Well, one thing I'm slightly jealous of, Mark, and we don't need to talk about this for too long, is that you never have a headset on, and yet here I am with this old headset, and I feel as though I look analog, and you look digital or
yes,
AI.
Very, very leading edge around the not a headset setup there. Yes, 100%.
Well, see, I'm staying true to the contact center game with my binaural headset.
I think it's a good look, right? I think between the two of us, right? You gotta
means our people recognize us.
That's right.
They say there's a man after my own heart.
That's right.
All right. So the one new feature I wanted to talk about, there has been a bunch of features, not least of all the advanced accessibility and maneuverability within the workflows or within flows.
Yeah.
So which is super important.
Yes.
So anyone interested in accessibility should go check those out. But I did also want to talk about and we'll get the name exactly right here. It is the analytics dashboard in the agent workspace.
Mm-hmm.
Now, this actually came out in time for our last podcast, and we were so excited about talking about the things we spoke about that I never got round to mentioning what I wanted to talk about.
Because that's why we have more podcasts, right? Because we're going to have people coming back, right? Like
that's right.
This is the whole point.
And also, there's going to be times where I don't understand things. You understand a bit more than I do, but there's times where I don't understand things until such time as I've encountered a customer who has a need, or there's something I suddenly get why we've done something or why something matters. And this is one of these ones where there's a lot of customers who don't want their agents to know what's going on in the contact. They want them just to focus on the contact in front of them, help the customer. But I reckon 50%, it's probably half and half, almost exactly, of customers say my agents need to know what's going on in the queue, how many calls they've taken, how many contacts they've taken.
You probably remember sort of like in the traditional call centers, right? You used to have sort of that wall board.
Yes.
You used to have that, they'd have the big monitor sitting up there, and agents could look up there and kind of see how that is. The challenge now is that a lot of the agents are virtual.
Yes. Yeah.
Working from home, or how do you give them the virtual version of that? Right, that they no longer have in the contact center today.
And that's exactly what we've given them. Out of the box, you tick the box, you turn it on, you add it as a third-party app. And again, maybe we haven't spoken enough about this, the ability to have third-party apps in the agent workspace. Mm-hmm. Yeah. You can put anything in front of the agent, all within the same desktop. There's no clicking between screens. It's all right there in front of them.
Yeah, and that really gets into that single pane of glass experience, right, that we're trying to build into the agent workspace and give customers maximum flexibility, not only around our core applications, but also around what they have in the contact center today, which I'll get a little bit into that, when we talk about the use case for what QinConnect helps solves for. That is one of the big areas for sure, right? Is that aspect of when an agent, on average, an agent is navigating 8 to 10 applications, right, to solve an issue, and there's different aspects of the experience, the agent experience, that you want to think about, of how do you simplify that overall so they can quickly get to that answer as fast as possible. And so we'll come back to that, but it's a good lead in for sure.
Well, let's do it. Let's go straight in, because I think I saw I don't know if we've ever named him by name so far, but Pasquale, who is the product owner for all of Connect, he's the leader of the entire.
He's our VP of Amazon Connect. So yeah,
VP. Thank you. He's been there since I began, and he's been there since Connect began. So I just think of him as PQ. Pasquale is there.
Yes, it's funny. I just celebrated 9 years at Amazon, and 8.5 of those have been with Connect.
Yeah, so there you go. Like, and he's
So,
so he ever present in your life has been
yes.
Saint Pasquale, and so PQ heard him talk. I want to say 4 years ago,
Hmm.
and he said our aim is to make it so that the time to competency for a new agent is 1 day,
Hmm.
not 6 weeks training.
Hmm. Hmm.
Not, and by the use of step-by-step guides, by the use of QinConnect and, the agent workspace and all of that, which leads us perfectly into QinConnect, which we've mentioned a couple of times. But Mark, tell me about it.
We'll
What do you
dive in
think?
here, right? Yeah, let me tell you kind of what it is, and we'll go back to kind of some areas, right, to talk about sort of as we get to the technical aspects of this. And yeah, we probably won't be able to cover everything about it, but
No.
we'll do, I think, a pretty good deep dive right around this for everybody, and not to take 2 hours.
So strap in, strap in.
Right,
It's
exactly,
going to be a
exactly,
wild ride. Okay, two
exactly.
hours. Here we go.
So what so let's step back a little bit and let's talk about sort of the use case, right, and or use cases that we're trying to solve in the contact center. So first is self-service, right? So as we think about self-service, and a customer has an issue that they need to solve for, they call into the IVR or they chat into the IVR. And the goal with any customer issue is trying to solve it as quickly as possible in as few steps as possible. And ideally it works across multiple channels, right? Because it's going to be chat. You may then escalate to voice, or you may start with voice, and then it gets thrown out into chat conversation because they the customer's moved on. They don't have time to sit there and engage with an agent. Again, meeting that customer where they are becomes a big part of that
Hmm.
aspect of that self-service experience. And then ideally, from a self-service perspective, you're trying to resolve that issue as fast as possible. So
Yep.
then you more or less deflecting that call from your agents, right? So if we talk about this all the time with customers, right? Like, what's the percentage of calls that are essentially answering that
Hmm.
you don't have to ever reach that your set of agents, right? And the more you can optimize that, the more efficient you can make that, right? The higher the impact that has to your agents and to your business, right? In terms of improving those costs that you have to invest in the agents today, right? Overall, into the overall business, right?
Exactly that.
And so as that as and I'll Amazon's probably a great example of that, right? Like you're in the mobile app, right, and you have an issue. Well,
Yes.
Amazon spends a lot of time and effort trying to ensure that they understand what your problem is and trying to be proactive in solving that. Right.
Yes.
And if if you've ever had you've got a package and you were expecting it to arrive yesterday and it hasn't arrived, there's a pretty good chance when you start to chat, with Amazon, they're gonna anticipate that, and
Well,
they're
it
gonna
was my youngest son's 12th birthday 2 days ago, and I had I had exactly that conversation with Amazon. Like, is it coming or isn't it?
yes,
And they
yes.
knew exactly, well, we knew, I should say, but they knew. Amazon.com knew exactly what I was talking about the moment I contacted them.
Yeah. And so a lot of what we're trying to do with services like Q and Connect is simplify and make that as much out of the box as possible, right? Because we want to make you more or less be able to build that experience and connect in terms of that self-service step-by-step approach to solve a problem, happen as quickly as possible,
Hmm.
right? So that's one aspect of what we're trying to leverage for Q and Connect, right? In terms of trying to drive that, and we'll get into what Q and Connect is in a second. But I want to kind of talk about I think
The
it's
use case,
a
yeah,
bit
like
common use cases for everybody as a
we're trying to help agents. We're trying to help the
right.
the end customer solve their problem without ever having to talk to an agent, where it's easy, where the answer is there.
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. And you're tying it into your existing data sources, right? So your knowledge bases, right? Your back
Hmm.
office systems. How do the personalization that has to come with that interaction, right? Like knowing who that customer is, right? Like
Yes.
that's important, right? That's a huge part of that. Like we worked a lot of, we worked at a lot of that early on in Connect, right? And now we've just tried to make it even easier with, capabilities like customer profiles that really can capture a lot of that,
Stop, Mark. Mark, these are whole other episodes. Customer
Sorry, sorry.
profiles.
Yeah, okay, totally.
It could get wild here.
Dive into
Let's
that. Again, little lead-ins. We're just giving little
just
little breadcrumbs for folks.
breadcrumbs for later. Yeah, I get it. I get it.
Exactly. So then so great. Now what happens once if self-service can't address it, right? So
Yep.
now we essentially escalate to the agent. Great, comes into the agent. The traditional agent, when when a call comes in, the first thing they're figuring out is, okay, well, why is this customer calling, and what am I
Hmm.
trying to solve for, right? And traditionally, in their agent desktop or their CRM, they're going to get a screen pop, right? And it could be a case that was created in the IVR. It could be, it could be an account, right? Like it's a phone number, it pops the account information. Agents can get a lot of variety, right, in terms of what
Mm.
that context is. And that's part of the challenge there, right? Is like how the agent has a few seconds to figure out like what is going on with this customer. And I'm sure we've all been on these calls where the agent's like, let me put you on hold while
Yeah,
I look up some information, right?
but not we've all been. That's been every single
Right? And
experience I've had.
what's happening in that moment is the agent has put you on hold and they're scrambling through the 8 or 10 applications as fast as possible, right? Trying
Mm.
to looking up, they're taking the account number they just got screen popped and they're pasting it over into the back office system so then they can look up the warranty that that you're calling about. And so like and they're trying to traverse through that workflow and they're trying to collect all this information and then come back to and trying to help you solve that issue. And that sometimes can be done in that they put you on hold once and hopefully they figure that out.
Yeah,
Sometimes you've been on hold 3 or 4 times, right? Because they're
yeah.
just trying to navigate all the content, all the workflows, all the applications.
They're scrambling. Basically, you arrive at them with no context. They've
Mhm.
got no. Their job at that moment is to work out who you are,
Yes.
what your problem is,
Yep.
what tools they need.
Yes.
They're starting from zero. It's like that call drops in. They're like, "You're speaking with Doug. How can I
Yep.
help you?" And they've got
Yep.
nothing at that
Yep.
point. So
That's
let's talk
exactly.
about Q and Connect. What is it, and how can it help that situation?
Yeah. So what QinConnect is, it's our agent AI technology, right? And it's LLM powered, right? So you look at, what we what we have in AWS in general is, Bedrock
Hmm.
capabilities, and think of QinConnect as a flavor of an agent that's focused on the contact center. So you may have heard of Q for Business, right? QinConnect. Like
Q
think of
Dev.
these are different flavors of agents, right? That we're using to basically solve for very specific use cases.
I think this is a really important point to pause on because I hear a lot of people within customers I talk to, like the IT teams, like, we've got an LLM or we're working with it and we're building a use case, we're training a model, all that
Right.
kind this is a trained model specifically for the contact center.
Yes. Exactly. Exactly. And
Pre-trained. So
there you
you're ragging it for those who, retrieval augmented generation for those who want to know that just proves that I know what rag means when I say it.
go.
But
Get the
basically,
buzzwords down, Doug. We love
yeah,
it.
yeah, yeah. I got my certs, but but you're giving it just the information that you want it to think about, that you
Yeah.
want it to generate answers from.
Right.
And this is crucial.
100%, right? Because part of, so we'll talk about in each of those use cases why that's important, right? From that perspective. So Q and Connect allows you to, to your point, tie into, third party sources, allows you to tie into customer information, allows you to take insights from our other services like Contact Lens, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
Leverage those as part of that interaction. So again, you have a lot of options in terms of how do you optimize that interaction that both your customer is having and the agent is having to solve that issue as fast as possible.
Yep.
Right. That is essentially what QinConnect is helping to solve for in terms of, you being able to address that overall. Right. So if you look at kind of the workflow, right? So what is that customer issue? What information is relevant to solving that issue? And then essentially, you know, Amazon Q is basically working with this, working through the LLM to basically provide the right answer to that, right? And then both in terms of a response as well as the answer,
Yeah.
right? So there's an element of guiding, right? Guiding to what the solution is, aka figuring out what the problem is, right?
Yes.
So the LLM is going to help with that, and then second to that, then is actually once you've more or less figured out what the customer issue is, then solving for it.
Yes.
So those are the two key steps that you're going through, right? Sort of as you're iterating, and the goal of QinConnect is to make that happen as fast as possible.
And I think historically, people have, I mean, knowledge management solutions have existed in the past. And the problem has been, and I would say this was the problem with our own wisdom service,
Hmm.
was a good, it was a step up from knowledge management because it still leveraged contact lens in real time, and it would say, hey, this is what the customer said, and it would say, here's the document
Hmm.
that will help you solve that problem
Right.
in
Yes.
real time. That's exactly the problem that an agent might have when you were talking about before, which is, okay, now I've got to read a whole document or
Right.
scan a document at the very least to find out where's the answer to that question.
Yes.
So
Yes.
where Q and Connect changes everything for the agent, and indeed when it's self-service, is that it's generating the exact answer to the question from the documents provided. So everyone's had the experience of large language models, particularly the very popular commercial versions such as Claude, ChatGPT. They understand that. So it's almost as if, as the customer, no, it's not almost. It is exactly the customer asks the question or says, "I would like to know how to reset my password. I would like to know, what the process is for applying for a mortgage, whatever that is." And it
Yes.
is able to look at those documents that you provided it, whether it's the data store or specific documents, and generate the answer. In order to apply for a mortgage, you need to do these.
Exactly, exactly, and that's right. Like that's key, right? Because I mean, we know LMs are really good at summarizing,
Yeah.
and that's the key. Like that's key. Right? Like we're now helping, driving that to summarization, and also enabling you to tune that experience, right?
Yes.
So you can leverage prompts, similar to what you would do with Bedrock agents, right? To basically be able to optimize that experience, which is super important, right?
It's I think that's the most fun part. Maybe I sound a little bit nerdy there when I say it's fun, is that
Yes,
you have access to the prompts.
yes,
You the pre-processing prompt and the answer generation prompt. You can see what's like out of the box,
mhm,
what the prompt is. And I think I said this on episode 1 of the podcast. I learnt so much about prompt engineering
yes,
just by looking at those prompts.
yeah,
Like
100%.
I was like, "Oh, right now I get it. Now I know what you need to do to instruct a large language model to give you an outcome."
Exactly, exactly. And you know, and there's an element of you've got all this unstructured content, knowledge bases, documents, other things that you're feeding in. That's one side of it. And then which ideally the more you can put structure to that, it's going to be, the better the results your LLM is going to have. We have a blog post actually kind of highlights like what is the best way to structure your knowledge bases.
Yes, yeah, and I urge everyone. Maybe I'll put it in the show notes. I
Yeah,
urge everyone to look at that because, I
totally.
mean, structuring the data. I mean, I often use an LLM to structure the data to, and particularly where you're pointing it at a knowledge store. Say, hey, is there contradictory information in this knowledge store? Get it
Yeah,
to get large language model to get it in. And hey, this is going to be for a self-service chatbot, or this is going to be to help a contact center agent answer questions. Here it is.
yeah, and
Please format this data for me.
exactly, and that's one of the advantages is with QinConnect. One is we have pre-built connectors,
Mm,
Salesforce now, right? So you can easily connect and pull in those those structured knowledge bases, right,
yes.
into QinConnect. But you also you can also we have an S3 bucket. So
Yeah.
I mean, any kind of content you can put into an S3 bucket.
Well, and the thing that what that gives you is you know what's in there. Like
Right.
that your knowledge base elsewhere probably has some hairs on it. It
Yes.
probably has some legacy information in there that
Yeah,
maybe
100%.
is no longer useful or
100%.
relevant or
Yeah.
accurate. And agents, as in human agents, because the whole world, the word agent for contact center agents in the last few months has become very very contested. But human agents, most contact centers I go into, they are very adept at managing and navigating the problems of the knowledge base they have access to.
100% because they've spent right hours and hours of learning that content,
Yeah,
right?
and they know. Hold on, that document's old. That's not. That one's untrustworthy. But
Yeah,
this is the good stuff. And when I need to know about this, I type in that. Yeah, like it's. And so that's where the S3 bucket really comes in terms of, we should say, S3, a simple storage service, the very first Amazon Web Service, where you can put the documents and you can put in just what you know is relevant and accurate and appropriate now.
exactly, exactly. And so great. So now we've got that. The other key part of that is you have these structured workflows, right? Which also
Yes.
come into helping to solve, whether that's, from a self-service or an agent assist perspective, helping to address that. And so the ability, in Connect, we have what we call step-by-step guides, right?
Yes.
Which is that sort of step-by-step workflow that you can either put into the self-service experience and help guide a customer through resolving an issue, or you can essentially help the agent navigate, solving an issue. The great thing with Q and Connect is it understands how guides works,
Hmm.
and it can use those guides to make recommendations back,
Yes.
right, to basically drive through that workflow. So that's super important as well, right? Like, so now you've got the content of the knowledge base and you've got content of the workflow to solve the issue as well. right? So you're pulling all of that together, and the LLMs and figuring out like how do I make the best recommendations, right, to solve these particular set of issues. And you want to think of this as like a flywheel, right? So as you're watching those interactions with customers, you're watching those interactions with agents, and you're using capabilities like contact lens to see the
Hmm.
outcome of those contacts, so you can continue to optimize, right? Like it's a this is I mean we talk about this all the time, Doug, right? It's like you're not going to get your customer, you're not going to nail your customer experience on day one, right? Like
Yes.
it's
Yeah.
going to take time and effort and iteration.
And you need to keep working at it. It's almost like you're never going to get there. You're always trying to improve.
You're trying to always improve, but we give you the tools and the visibility into that data that allows you to quickly iterate through that process, right? Like that is I think one of our key differentiators that we have with Connect is that the speed at which you can optimize,
Yeah.
right? And because all of this comes together, because we look at if you look at sort of Q and Connect across self-service and agent systems, they're solving the same set of similar problems.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
And they're all built on our core Connect Flows technology, right? Which again allows you to, if you know how to build in the IVR, you're gonna know how to build it in the desktop.
And in episode 2 of the podcast, we professed our love for flows.
Oh, we did, yes. Which is probably another deep dive at some
Another
point.
deep dive. Well, and to invoke Pasquale once more, I had a chance to ask him what his favorite part of Connect was, and this was
Yeah.
2 years ago now, I think.
Yep.
And he said his favorite part, which he took a long time to, because obviously he's got a lot of, it's like asking who's your favorite child.
Right.
But he said flows.
Yeah.
Flows was his favorite part of Connect, which I think it speaks to its centrality to everything. But now we don't want to drag this out too long
No.
because
Yeah.
people have lives to get on with and all the rest of it. So I'm going to ask you in 1 second to talk about where QinConnect fits in with agentic AI. But before I do that, I want to talk about the fact that when you add QinConnect, it creates multiple prompts for your AI agents.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
there's 2 prompts in particular. We'll just stick with self-service now, but it does this for the agent side as well. One is the answer generation prompt, which is very understandable to us, which is you're a polite contact center assistant. You will generate an answer. You won't lie. Don't be thrown off track. Just retrieve the answer from these documents.
Yeah.
All very understandable. But the other one is much more interesting to me, which is the pre-processing prompt,
Mm-hmm.
which is the prompt which is designed to understand what it is that the customer is saying. So it's to say, hey, this customer is going to say something. I want you to, first of all, understand it and then categorize it against one of these tools. And you can continue to create tools. Out of the box, there's 4, I believe: escalation, completion, conversation, and question. Is this conversation? Is it a question? Is this completion? Have we satisfied the customer? Or is it an escalation to a human? Now, you can keep adding tools. One could be, tell a joke, or it could be,
Maybe explain what a tool is, Doug. I don't know if anyone knows what a tool is.
maybe you would like to do that, please. I was just off on a rant then, so
Yeah,
let's.
no. So think of tools as a way just to help instruct the LLM, right? In terms of having visibility into, other data or other, I'm trying to maybe functions is probably the way to
Yes,
say that,
yeah,
right?
functions. Yep.
That helps the LLM solve the issue,
Well, the
right?
very simple one is that escalation one.
Escalation one, yes.
Hey, and so when the person says, I'm annoyed, could I speak to a human? Can I get an agent? Blah, blah, anything where I'm frustrated, it just says, hey, we should get this to a human who can show empathy or whatever that is.
Yeah.
Now, what I've seen some customers where they are in their generative AI journey at this moment, which is a very understandable moment to be in, or place to be in at this moment, is where they say, I don't trust my business to an LLM to generate the answer.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But I do trust the LLM to understand what it is the customer is saying.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yes.
at that point, you can then have some static flows out the back of it.
Mm-hmm.
It could be, hey, here's the 500 things that my security team and communications team and marketing team have agreed that we're allowed to say. Hey, LLM, based on what Mark has just said to me, which of these 500 things should we say back to him? That's if you just want to be completely sure you're not going to risk your share price. You're not going to, end up in front of
Like
what we would
compliance,
call in
right?
Australia
A lot
Royal
of
Commission.
companies have very strict compliance regulations, right?
Yeah.
And they
Yeah.
can't risk an LLM saying the wrong thing to the customer.
Yep.
But
That's
to
it.
your point, you can use it to gather a lot of information. So when it goes to an agent, right,
Yes.
they have that richer context to be able to provide that as fast as possible, right?
And understand the many and varied ways that humans speak.
Yes. Yes.
And that's something that I think has meant that I don't think it's an uncontroversial statement to say that chatbots have not been very good up until now.
Not without a
There's
lot
n-
of work. Not without
the-
a ton of work, right?
and that, well, it's not often that someone calls into a contact center and begins an automated experience and thinks, oh, yes, this is exactly what I
This is
wanted. I was hoping I'd get an automated experience.
Yes. Well, I think the unfortunate part is that contact centers have trained customers to be a chatbot avert,
Yeah, that's
emergency,
it. Yeah,
right?
by having so many bad
Yeah, we're
chatbots.
chatbot.
Yeah,
I want to talk to an agent, right? Like,
yeah, yeah.
and that is a perception, right? That
Perception. Yep.
that has to be. It's going to take time.
A hard-earned perception.
And it's going to take time for this to change that, right?
Yeah,
And I think we have seen a lot of customers overcome that, right? And create really great experiences as part of that,
100%.
right? And so it's for sure a journey, and part of that is what have you what other what I mean, like let's just start with where you are today, right?
Yeah.
What's that perception your customers have already, right?
Yes.
Contact center experience, like start. That's where you're starting, right?
That's where you're starting from. Work backwards from that.
Mhm.
100%. Yeah. So we're nearly at the half hour mark. So
Yeah.
Mark. So I want you to close out this episode by talking, and I foreshadowed it earlier, but I
Yes,
I went off on a rant.
it's the point of the podcast.
It's the point of the podcast. Well, I delivered on that. But I wanted you to talk about QinConnect and agentic AI and where
Mhm.
we are going. Like, what's next, if you
Yeah,
can.
no, I mean, so this space, I mean, it's probably everyone knows, right? The AGI space is moving super fast, right?
Yes.
And so what I'll say is, stay tuned. We'll have more announcements in terms of what's coming with Q and Connect, but really a lot of this is going to be continue to have Q and Connect really be the center,
Hmm.
right, of the Connect experience in terms of simplifying the self-service experience, providing a high quality voice experience, right, as part of that interaction, and also obviously chat experience, and
Yep.
and then driving that towards one, reducing the amount of times you have to essentially get that to an agent, right, and
Hmm.
help customers do that as fast as possible. And then when it does get to the agent, how do we really give them the best possible experience within an agent workspace, right,
Yes.
to solve that issue as fast as possible. And so I think this conversational interaction that you're having, that's becoming more. You see this today with all the agent AI tools, right? Like that conversational AI is becoming kind of core and centric to a lot
Yeah.
of these interactions, right? And
And
so
that tooling we were talking about before, that's where it really, like, once you can start to say to those tools, hey, go
yes,
off and take action.
yes,
Here's the things you're allowed to talk to. Here's the databases. Here's the APIs. You're allowed to
yes,
go and I think we're looking towards a time where the agent gets to focus 100% on the customer interaction and providing empathy,
yes,
whilst underneath the AI is sorting out. So let's look at a use case like applying for a credit card.
hmm hmm
And so, Mark, you call me, you say, I'd like to apply for a credit card. And whilst I'm talking to you, it's checking your credit rating. It's checking whether you're actually Mark. It's
right,
checking, what other business you do with us, coming back and presenting the agent with that all wrapped up in a bow. So
yes,
I'm just giving you a good experience saying, hey, Mark, we're really thrilled you're asking for a credit card. You're a very important customer to us. And yes, you qualify. And that just tick, 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 it's all done.
hmm
And so, Mark, it's seamless, and you're not giving away that the idea. You're not giving away that human interaction, which
right,
I think too many organisations are mistaking as being the end goal.
hmm
Let's have a completely agentless contact center,
right,
because I mean we've all experienced that thing with large language models, and I know people will say, "Oh, just wait, they'll get better," and maybe they will. But at the
hmm
present moment, where it's not quite where a human would be. It's
right,
amazing. They're amazing,
yes,
but it's not quite what
yes.
it should be.
Yeah, yeah, and that is exactly the point, right? Because we are giving you the spectrum of capabilities
Yes.
that allows you to start as simple as dipping your toe in the water, right?
Yes.
Enabling this
Yes.
to your agents to then driving this ultimately all the way through that full self-service experience.
Yes.
And depending on your use case, depending on the risk level of your business, etc., right? Like those are all areas where you have full control, and that's That's the point, right? Because we've been doing an AI since 2017,
Yes,
right?
yes, yeah, yeah.
Right, and
It's been in
part of
Connect
that
from day one. Yep,
part of that is we have a very pragmatic view of how we view AI in the contact center. And we've talked about this on earlier podcasts with unlimited AI, and this is why unlimited AI, we introduced that because we want to give our customers the ability to pull these capabilities into their contact center, but do it in a way that at times is going to be gradual, right, and
yep,
is the best fit for their use cases, and allows them to take advantage of what's already being generated in the contact center, right? We're not quite at the point of the entire contact centers that were out of the LLM, right? Like there's you talk to I think a lot of folks in this industry, like that's where everybody's projecting this is going to go, but at the same time, like again, I think we have a very different view of that, and a pragmatic view of where this is going. And again, the challenge where most businesses have, it's not the technology, it's the transformation that's required
yes,
to adapt to the technology, right? And that is where the time, the effort, the cost is, right? Like it's not as simple as we're just going to stick an LM in all of this and then everything magically transforms, right? Like
yep.
that's not the reality with most businesses today.
I think that's a great place to leave it, Mark. I do feel we've buried the lead in that if you want to try Q and Connect, you can
Yes.
have it up and running. Like you can spin up an instance of Amazon Connect and have Q and Connect running both from a self-service and an agent support perspective in under 30 minutes because I have done it numerous times with customers.
And,
Like it
and
is,
we also
yeah.
and we also have a really great workshop, right?
Ah,
So that's also probably we should also highlight, right? There's a Q and Connect workshops for folks. That's something else we should probably also highlight, that that's a great great for folks if folks want to get hands on, right? In terms
yep,
of really prescriptive guidance in terms of how to use Q. Obviously, we have tons of documentations
yep. But
leverage that,
there's
but
no
it's always hard to
coding.
beat a good
There's no
workshop,
you.
right?
You don't have to be a geek. You don't have to be a nerd. You don't have to coding anything. You don't even have to vibe code.
Yes.
Like this is all tick box, click, click, click.
Hmm.
You can have this all up and running.
Yeah.
But yes, as I say, let's leave it there. Mark, thank you. That's
Thanks, Doug,
episode
as
3
always.
done.
Yes. Awesome. Love this episode. And again, let's remind people for feedback. Well, we welcome the feedback as in terms of,
And grab us on LinkedIn. And
what
and
something.
actually, that's an action on me. We need to give people a mechanism for feeding back to us.
Yes.
We're underdone on the socials and on the
Yes. We definitely that. And then I think we'll throw some of these key links that we've been talking about into the show notes.
yeah.
So I think that we'll have that in there so folks can easily access that and find the information that we've been talking about today.
Brilliant. See you, Mark.
All right. See you, Doug. Have a good day.